So our in-class projects kind of are a little more focused on some very specific elements, kind of details, and while it sounds like details, they're really kind of expansive in that they offer you other opportunities and ways to look at things. For instance, the first one we're going to do is this idea of a wall exploration. So at the end of the course, we look at how to put windows into wall systems in some fashion. In this way, we learn how to cut through walls and insert glazing systems in a really free-form way. Just to kind of break up that idea of placing a window into a wall kind of system, we'll learn how to kind of create our own kind of shapes with that. And then one of the things that's really primary to, especially what you do in design fundamentals, this idea of coming up with conceptual masses of objects, of sculpture, and then how do we turn those into buildings? So we have an experiment or experience in class where we create a massing model of objects, and then we, through the use of our modeling tool, we articulate these as actual wall surfaces and start to bring them into the reality of these could actually be a building type of thing. So you learn how to do what's called conceptual massing to create your building environments. Lighting's really important, understanding how light plays on surfaces, how the building is lit with respect to its orientation on the site. And so we do a couple of in-class learning exercises where we see the power of our modeler to accurately portray lighting situations. So we'll make just a simple box and punch some holes in it, and then look at how light plays with different shadows at different times of the day, and then how to do that and communicate it. Then we'll look actually at a little more interesting and detailed idea about what lighting can be by changing the glazing on that same kind of a box-like room system. We can see through what's called ray trace renderings how that can affect the interior lighting and help us think about issues of glare control and overheating spaces, depending on the way we place windows and the orientation of our building. Some details for traditional building. I see a lot of times people are placing windows into brick systems in model space, and even in reality in ways that aren't an accurate portrayal about the way brick and windows should be integrated with each other. So we go through a little bit of an exercise to gain kind of a sensitivity about how windows should look when they're placed in brick. Just an important thing that you'll take through your career with you. And then we'll take that kind of learning and then stretch it out on also a very traditional looking kind of brick facade. So we'll learn how to use columns, hierarchy, sweeps to create what are much more traditional looking types of facade systems. All of this is relatively quick. I provide you with start files so you can really move through these and learn the techniques relatively quickly. We'll also do a shipping container. It's typical student project all the time, and I introduce you to the way to manipulate shipping containers in the Revit modeling environment. And because this isn't a wall system and a floor system, our software doesn't really know how to accurately work with it. So we need to know a couple of ways to manipulate it in order to do the kind of changes to our shipping container that we might want to do to make it an architectural or useful, inhabitable or usable space. Then we do things that are kind of preparations for things like construction tech and other courses that you'll take to make construction documents. So we'll learn at making schedules and legends. So schedules are a list of doors and windows systems that are contained in a project, and then legends are graphical representations of those windows and door systems so we have an idea of what they look like. We'll look at topography again, but in this case, we're going to actually create our own topography, which means that I won't provide you with the three-dimensional space. We're actually just going to manipulate lines on surfaces in order to create our own contours of the land. So you'll have both techniques available to you going forward in Studio. And then we're going to finish up with what are called PBR textures. They're physics-based reality or rendering, I believe it is. I forget what the acronym actually means. Well, actually, what it is. I know what it means. It means that the texture actually understands where light is coming from. It has a three-dimensionality to the texture, so we can see and feel in a more visceral way the textures of the surface by the play of light across them. So it's a really powerful use of texture. It's available now inside of our Revit modeling environment, and I wanted you to become familiar with it as a tool going forward. So that really covers all of it. That's our whole course. I hope it'll be relatively pain-free, and the accomplishments will impress you as being fun or enjoyable at least.